Ms. Burdick. I was a member of the council, still am a member of the council, but have since our last meeting been appointed chairperson. So I'll call the meeting to order, and I would like to go to item 1, which is swearing in a board member, Raphael L. Podolsky. So I'm not sure who's doing the swearing in, but if you would kindly take the stage, so to speak.
Sure. Raphael Podolsky, I'll be swearing you in. I did want to let you know, though, I don't have any video of everyone. I think my screen is black.
Who is this that's speaking? James?
This is James Rocco from DCP, staff attorney.
We can see you. I can.
All right. Well, I'll proceed then.
Okay.
Mr. Podolsky, will you please raise your right hand?
Okay, here it is.
Do you solemnly swear or solemnly sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that you will faithfully discharge according to law your duties as a member of the Mobile Home Park Advisory Council to the best of your abilities, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, congrats. Thank you.
Finally,
Congratulations.
finally.
Congrats.
Right after like 40, after 35 or 40 years.
Okay. So again, yeah, thank you, Rafe. You've been a huge help to me in recent months. So thank you for being on the board, and I appreciate you. The next one I want to do is go to the minutes of the previous meetings. Do I have a motion and a second to approve?
So moved.
Okay. Moved by Dave
Yes.
Second,
and seconded by, because I can't see.
Miriam.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Does anyone have any changes? Anything they think should be changed? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so minutes of the August 31st, 2023 meetings are approved. Item number 3, comments from members of the public. Are there any members of the public here that would like to speak to the council? Dan, you already introduced yourself as a member of the public, and you're here just to sort of see what the council's about. Is there anybody else that wants to just introduce themselves? If not, then we'll move on to item 4, DCP complaint and inspection reports.
Liz, I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Colette with CHFA. I just did want to let you know that both Brian and I have a conflict, so we'll be needing to log off by, I think Brian needs to log off sooner than I can stay a little past 11. I'm just letting you know. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, so we'll try. I think, I'm not sure where our CHFA updated schedule, but certainly we can.
Just,
Oh,
yeah, just an
number
FYI.
6. Would you like me to take number 6 before number 4? Would that be helpful to you both?
Perhaps. I also have to be off at 11, but if you think those items won't take long, I can wait.
Yeah, we'll be here. I just wanted to let you
Okay.
guys know.
All right. So
We'll be here for a little bit longer.
With, since everyone's got to leave at 11, let's go with number 4, DCP complaint. And Brian, that's you, right? You're going to give us an update? Or who's giving us an update? Janita?
No, this would be Janita Hamill from Consumer Protection Investigations Division.
Yep.
You all received the spreadsheet that should be part of your package.
Mm-hmm.
And the counts are on there from your last meeting and report, which was 8/25/23 through November 29th of 2023. There were.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I wasn't aware of having received the report. Is it? Could you do you know when it was sent, or to direct the timing of the email?
Yeah, it was, Rafi, it was sent. I can check the email. Rochelle sent it with a link.
It would have been Wednesday, the 29th.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
And it's a spreadsheet.
Okay.
Want to go over, are any of those complaints new that the council should be aware of since its last meeting?
The ones that are new are open and they are being investigated and inspected. And the ones that are closed are also listed. Two were closed by the legal department. And I believe that's why Attorney Assistant Director Paulette Annan is here. One was a duplicate. The real estate division received the New England Village complaint by accident, and they closed it, and it was sent to us, and we have a file open on that. It's also on this spreadsheet. So, are there any questions, ma'am?
No, I just, again, I'm just, when we have this complaint now, if someone from the council wanted to review those new open complaints, is that something that's available for the public or council members to see?
New files, no, ma'am. Anything that's open and under investigation is not provided to anyone.
Okay, thank you. Rafi?
I'm sorry, because I'm working without the documents. I'm sorry that I missed them. But did you say that there were 2 files that have been closed?
By the legal department, sir, not by.
Okay, so could someone summarize what those were about, and what the results were in terms of, what was the nature of the complaint? What was the end result, and essentially why was it closed?
Sure, I can do that, Rafi. So one of the cases, 2021-153, and that had to do with Candlewood Mobile Home Park. And the complainant complained about water flow from the road and the home sinking. And the mobile home park owner submitted documentation of significant curbing and milling work that was done to redirect the water flow at the park. And there was no evidence of the sinking of the home due to the water flow. So the resident had at least 3 additions added to the home that may have added weight to the home, but the home is level. And the residents are responsible for keeping their home level. So the case was closed by legal. The other case, 2022-112.
Pauline, could I stop you on that one?
Sure.
When you say that the resident is responsible for keeping the home level, are you but what does that mean in terms of whether the ground is level?
Well, the ground is found to be level. So in terms of this is what I'm understanding from the report that I was given to report on. So there was no evidence of the ground not being level. So the home itself, where they added a number of additions, that was probably the issue that the homeowner was experiencing.
It said that the foundation was not level?
I don't know the details of the foundation. I'm just reporting on what I have here. So
Okay.
if there's additional information, I could ask Cynthia if she has that in her
No, the only reason I'm asking is normally if the home's not level, it's because there's something in the ground that's not level, and the ground would be a park owner responsibility.
Right,
Most
the
of
ground
the,
is found to be level.
Rafi, most of the issues that we see with homes that aren't level are people that added like a sunroom or added a porch or a portico to the home, and it dragged the home down, and that's their responsibility to make it right, not the park owner. Very rarely does just all of a sudden the home fall out of level because the ground's out of level. Usually it's based on an addition or something the homeowner has done.
Okay, so DCP determined that this unleveling was not because of the ground, but because of something the resident had done.
Correct.
Okay.
Rafi,
Then-
if I could
Go ahead.
I've seen when people install gutters on their mobile homes and the gutters are directing the water to the home, it will make them unlevel.
It's a great point, Marcia.
Thank you.
Any other
Okay, Paula.
questions on that one? Because I'm going to go on to the next case that was closed. Okay. So the other case that was closed by legal, 2022-112, and that was Evergreen Mobile Home Park. And the complainant was complaining of the driveway being washed out, harassment based on Native American ancestry from the mobile home park owner, a crushed shed, that his home was sinking, and there was flooding of the home. After inspection and investigation, there was no evidence of any harassment by either the owner or the neighbors, much less based on ancestry, no crushed shed, no flooding. And the resident is responsible for making repairs to their own home. Mobile home park owner is not responsible for the maintenance of the resident's driveway. And the resident was, I guess, told to add some stone or paving to their own driveway. The park also suggested a berm be created along the edge of the roadway and the complainant's property to divert any water flow, but the complainant refused to have the berm installed. The complainant also called the police on the mobile home park owner when they went to look at the property, and there was no evidence of unmitigated water flow causing the driveway to be washed out. The park passed inspection on September 1st, 23. Also, the town of Clinton came out and inspected. It was the wetlands enforcement that came out and inspected, and they came out and found no inland wetland violations. The complainant also refused the berm in their conversation with the town of Clinton. The Evergreen Mobile Home Park had an engineer come out and inspect the water flow from the road to the property and found no issues with the flow of water down the road along the property line. Evergreen also had the septic system inspected and DEEP found no problems. And there were also complaints made of trees overhanging the property, but Evergreen found that there were no trees actually overhanging the property. So a lot of inspection was involved in this matter. And so legal found no reason to take this case further, and it was closed.
I have a question about that.
Sure.
First of all, these are closed files, right?
These are closed, yeah.
Okay, so these are available for public viewing? I guess I don't know if that's a question for you or.
Yeah, if
or
you make
somebody else.
if you're making a request for this closed file, yes. As
Right,
an
and
FOI, yeah.
did you just say that somebody found that there's no trees overhanging that property?
Actually overhanging the property, yeah.
Okay. All right. So what's the procedure for obtaining the report from legal?
So we have this new system, GovQA. I mean, I can ask the attorney to pull these two things together, but we have GovQA, which is our new online system for FOI requests, which makes it much easier for things to be uploaded and for you to just download all the documents. So I can send you that information on how to access GovQA.
That'd be great. And I'm sorry, my mic was muted earlier on the question at Candlewood Park in New Milford. If there's not an addition, I just want to be clear, if there's not an addition and there's not a porch that's been added and there's not gutters that are causing erosion, but it's the ground underneath the home that is settling, that would be the park owner's responsibility. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're correct. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Paulette, thank you for sending that information. Could you send it out to all of us, or maybe ask Rochelle to, just so we all have that information about the FOI requests?
I'm sorry, I missed that. I took my earphones out to grab.
Oh, no,
It's okay, go ahead.
I just asked that you send it out to all of us, or
Sure.
send it to Rochelle and she can send it out to all
Yep,
of us.
I'll do that. I'll send it
All
to
right,
Rochelle.
perfect. Thank you.
Is there, can I ask a question? I don't know if Paulette or who has the answer, but this is extremely one-sided in the sense that all we're hearing about is complaints from, here's two complaints that residents made that wasted an enormous amount of time both by the municipality, the Department of Consumer Protection, and whoever inspected the septic system. And so complaints are made all the time without merit. And so is there a way for us to supply complaints that we have against residents that, purposely cause damage by cutting, power lines to screw with other residents? Or, I mean, this doesn't seem like the mission of the council. And so is there a way to, also supply complaints that we have against residents that cause damage, could cause malicious damage to communities?
Typically don't take those kinds of
It
complaints.
was
I'm not
a
understanding what the complaint
rhetorical
means.
question, Paulette.
Okay.
It's just this, it's so one-sided every time we get these complaints. It doesn't make any sense to sit here and listen to it. It doesn't help the mission of promoting our industry. All this is just people who have complaints that have lease agreements with landlords. And just to sit here and listen to people have trees that are overhanging, there's trees everywhere. We're being asked to cut trees that are alive. And now I'm hearing, and tell me if I'm wrong, Paulette, but now I'm hearing there's a potential $500 fine that's being levied against community owners for inspections that aren't repaired in 30 days by community owners. Is that true? That's what my inspector just told me.
We do have a ticketing system, yeah, because we do give an opportunity to park owners to, to fix whatever the violation is that's reported so that it doesn't go any further. That's true. And that's for when they don't respond and don't fix what was found to be in violation.
So, but is there a new $500 fine that's being asked or being submitted to somewhere?
It's not $500. I think it starts at $250. I can't remember. I don't do the ticketing. Cynthia does. And he's not here today, but I could check what it is.
So does that have to be discussed with the council, or is it, I mean, this was just, I'm telling you something that I heard from an inspector that was never discussed at any one of these meetings, that there's going to be a fine for not responding. But if someone's asked to do tree work that is just in the inspector's thought that, hey, this tree is alive, but it's hanging over someone's house, it needs to be cut, and you're just asking for work to be done that doesn't need to be done, you're going to levy a $250 fine if it's not done?
We have statutory authority, and so that's where the ticketing comes from. And we give the park owner opportunities to respond. And I don't know how many, and maybe Pam Brown, the director of investigations, can answer this, but I don't know. I don't think we do it often, but I don't know how many letters go out to the park owner to tell them, here's the violation, please fix it. Pam, do you know how many letters go out before there's a ticket?
So we routinely send a letter out to park owners upon completion of an inspection. So that letter goes out certified mail. You also get an email copy of our mobile inspection that we do right on site. It gets emailed out, so they get plenty of notice. That's the first step in our process.
So
Doing the
what can I ask?
inspection.
And that works out very well, by
Email.
the way. The email of the report is excellent, and I don't have any issue. I don't think any of us have an issue with the report. My issue is that in the inspector's diligence, he's like, hey, there's a tree hanging over someone's house that needs to be cut down, but the tree is alive and it has no harm against anybody. If the tree's alive, there's trees everywhere. It's not possible to cut down every tree that may be hanging over a home. What is the process for a community owner to dispute the fact that the tree is alive and it should not be cut down simply for the reason that it's hanging over a home? That there's trees hanging over homes everywhere in this country. Being in a park being a mobile home doesn't make it any different. And so can you dispute the inspection and say, hey, this isn't right?
I'm sorry, I have to step in here. In private homes across the country, if you have a tree that you think is threatening your house, you can call a tree guy and you can cut it down. In a mobile home park, if you have a tree that you're afraid of, you have to get the park owner's permission. And it's the park owner's responsibility. And I mean, if you want to go back for a couple of years, we can talk about the situation in Griswold where the tree pancaked the house after numerous complaints.
You're talking about one park 2 years ago. And
It was more than 2 years.
Dave, I'm asking a question on the DCP. I'd like to get their answer.
All right, so this is Liz Burdick again. Is there a way that Paulette, you or your office can look into what a dispute process would be if a park owner disputes an inspector or an order? Is there some sort of, process to dispute it? And if you could, get that information to us, that would be really great. I know that we have people that are running out of time to have them speak. So I think Mark and Dave have both been very clear on what they're talking about. Is there any way you could get that information to us?
I mean, the short answer is that during an investigation, investigations collects information from both parties. So the respondent has an opportunity to dispute whatever the facts are or the allegations are. And that's the information that's used to determine whether or not the investigations unit thinks that there is a violation of our licensing laws.
All right, and the reason I asked that, just, I work in land use. So, if a planning and zoning, if the zoning officer makes a decision, it can be appealed to the ZBA. If the person doesn't like the ZBA's decision, they can appeal it to Superior Court. The Planning and Zoning Commission makes decisions that can also be appealed to Superior Court. So that's what I was kind of looking for. Is there any appeal process of any complaint?
There is no appeal, right? There is none of the complaint. So what happens is if the case is found to have merit and it gets sent up to legal, and if it's not resolved at that point and it goes to administrative hearing, then that's when both parties can, the state puts on their case, the respondent puts on their case, and the hearing officer makes a decision whether or not that there was violations of the licensing laws.
Right,
Hey,
so
Liz,
then they can appeal.
I just need to add, so this is
Yeah.
clear. There's a right of appeal of administrative decisions of state agencies that applies to everybody. Any park owner has a right to appeal a decision through the processes, starting within DCP, ultimately can get into the courts. And so that's simply not in all candor, that's not an issue. There is in fact a process. I think Paulette, it would help everybody if Paulette, in writing spells that out or gets something so that everybody can see. But and the other thing, I guess, I know we're going to lose our CHFA people, so I don't want to drag this out. But in response, Mark said something which he described as rhetorical. I just feel a need to say something. The very purpose of the Mobile Home Park Act is to regulate mobile home parks. It does not regulate the residents, it regulates the park owners. And so the reason that the focus on complaints is a complaint against the park owners, because that's what the act is about. There are other remedies that park owners have if they have a complaint against the tenant. The most common one is they bring an eviction action against the tenant. So it's not like there is one-sided system here. This is but the function of Department of Consumer Protection, which is a consumer protection agency, is to protect the consumer, and that's what the structure of the organization of the governmental entity is about. And there are going to be complaints that are legitimate, and there are going to be complaints that are illegitimate, and that's the job of the department to sort out. And ultimately, either side can appeal if they really are unhappy with what the department decides.
Great. Are we all good with that now? Because I don't want to lose our CHFA people completely, and I was hoping that the legal folks could defer to CHFA and take them first before your update. Is everyone good with that? Is CHFA still here?
Yes.
All right, so
Awesome.
why don't we move to item 6, report from CHFA, so that we get at least a short discussion.
All right, thank you. Again, I'm Brian Boyaji with the CHFA Single Family or Home Ownership Division, and just giving you a quarterly update on our figures here from our partners at Capital for Change, the lender that handles our mobile and manufactured home program. For the purchase program, they reported that they had 5 new applications since our last update 3 months ago, bringing the total purchase applications received since March of 2021 up to 70. Of those, 1 has successfully closed since the last update, so that total is now at 14 for successful closings since March of 2021. For applications to the refinance program, which is at the 1% rate, they have not received any new applications on that in the last 3 months. So the total there remains at 15, 5 of which have successfully closed. With regards to My Home CT, there was some success there. There were 41 total applications for My Home CT, which provided, COVID relief for those that were having a hard time with their housing payment. 23 of those 41 successfully were funded. The average commitment amount on those funded loans with My Home CT was a little over $20,000, was $20,457. And 54% of the mobile and manufactured owning applicants reported annual incomes that were at or below the 30% area median income, compared to 34% for the overall population pool.
What was it under, what was that percentage of the 30% or under?
Sure, 54%.
Okay, thanks.
So we're doing some good reaching out there. And that program, by the way, has been depleted. Those were federal funds that we were given a while back, and the funds have been gone through already. So that program is now shut down. There is still one application in process, however. Only 9 of the 41 were deemed ineligible, and 8 were withdrawn by the borrowers for various reasons. So those are all the stats I have regarding my stuff.
Liz, could I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
One of the things we've been struggling with is why the refinance program has drawn so few people, because it seems like it's a no-brainer almost.
Yeah.
That to get your, if you've got a loan and you can get a 1%, you get it refinanced to 1%. And I know the CHFA has done some, especially at the beginning, did a lot of publicity.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on why applications aren't coming in?
Yeah, I actually asked that of Capital for Change. I said, what are the big hurdles? And I actually spoke with one of their underwriters there who handles the programs. And the director and the underwriter there said that the 2 big hurdles they see most for declinations are that the applicant has a high debt to income ratio that disqualifies them from qualifying, and that the other one is the 80% loan to value ratio that we require for this program. So I guess those are 2 of the hurdles that they see with regards to the refinance application success rate being low.
Do you think that 80% should be modified, should be changed?
I brought it up, and I continue to have that discussion, so we'll see. But it might have to be, given the fact that the program isn't catching on.
Is there a sense that people don't know about the program, or?
Possibly, but I feel like it's been promoted, and I know people out there have also spread the word to their residents. So but they can certainly go to our website. We have marketing materials there, and they can publicize it more. I know we did postcards. We've done lots of internet stuff, Facebook stuff. I don't know.
And when you say a high debt to income ratio, again, how does that translate into kind of real life situation for people who might potentially refinance?
Well, while the rate of 1% certainly brings down the housing payment, unfortunately, they may have other debts, i.e. car loans, revolving debt, whatever, and that may be disqualifying them from qualifying. So, we can't control everybody's spending habits.
Well, no, but what strikes me is if they're in default, this is a default situation where they're behind on their on their loan payments. That's one thing. But if they're current on their loan payments and trying to go from, say, a 5% loan to a 1% loan, then by definition, they're going to be in a better financial position. And they're not a substantial risk because you're reducing their obligations. So it would seem like, I understand if they're behind in all their bills, that's not a very favorable atmosphere for refinancing. But if they're behind, in their credit card bill, that they're current in their loan payment, and you're going to bring down their loan payment, you would think that that would be a perfectly good case for the program, for applying the program. And in fact, it would have hopefully would have the effect that they could, while paying back the loan, they could now also pay back their credit card bills. So I don't, I guess I'm just saying, I don't understand if those are the obstacles internal to the program. It seems to me it would make sense to take another look at those, if whether those could be modified.
Well, maybe. I mean, again, that's up to Capital for Change as well, but there are debt to income limits that they have to adhere to. And, again, if there's other spending aside from the housing, I know you're saying the housing payment would go down, but I can do a deeper dive on that and see if it's more so related to credit profile, if there's lower credit scores or whatnot. And then again, the other hurdle they said was the loan to value ratio, that typically the new appraised value doesn't support the loan.
But it's the CHFA program, so I'm assuming that ultimately it's not Capital for Change that sets the rules, but that it's CHFA that sets the rules.
I know with most of our homeownership programs, we allow the lender to create their own credit score limits. You're right, with debt to income ratio, though, we do tend to create those limits. But okay, I'll be happy to review and discuss that, Rafi.
Rafi's 100% correct.
Right, before we move on, I have two people with their hands raised. Unfortunately, I'm technically really slow. And I know Ben was one of them. I don't know who the other one is. I'm trying to find it. But Ben, do you want to go ahead and ask a question?
Yeah, I've got a question. What are they using for ratios anyhow? And what's the base on it? Is it an FHA guidelines they're using? And the problem, Rafi, we've been having, as you know, over the years, is pretty much if they're putting less than 20% down, then PMI gets involved. Then that's a different ballgame altogether. And as you know, we have certain guidelines with FHA, which most of these mobile parks do not meet. So I guess the question is that what percentage if they use for qualifying someone? Where do they get these ratios from? What are they using as a basis?
I believe it's 45% DTI, overall DTI.
Liz, I don't know if you got other people that are ahead of me, but I do have something to add here.
Okay, yes. Who's that, Dave?
Yes.
All right. So Ben, are you all set right now?
I guess no. I guess so. I guess
I'll ask Capital for Change to better clarify, their answer on when DTI. Yeah, when DTI is a hurdle, exactly what do you mean? Is it the other revolving debt and car loans or other things on their credit report that are putting them over the edge? I'll be happy to investigate that.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it.
Dave,
you had one quick question before I let the CHFA.
Well, it's not a question. It's a comment. I was contacted by the aide to, I'm not sure if it's a senator, state senator, or a state rep, whose last name is Doucette. He's on the banking committee.
Okay.
And apparently, I see Brian shaking his head.
I'm familiar with his name, yeah.
Okay, so I know nothing about this other than they're trying to promote more private lending, but I know Chap has been invited. And I just want to make sure, I don't know if the park owners are aware of this, but I probably should be. I think they have a tentative date for next week. I think it's Tuesday. But I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of this. And my understanding is it's a result of a law that was passed in the last session and trying to promote more loans for individual mobile home purchase. I don't know about refinance.
Yeah, certainly, I'm sure someone could help me look into that and we could get that information out once we have, details.
It's section 10 of Public Act 23-45. It's a working group staffed by the legislature's banking committee, of which Jason Doucette is co-chair. And it's supposed to look at obstacles to financing of mobile home purchase of individual mobile homes. And I think that I think CHFA has a seat on the working group. it's, I mean, something park owners may, if you may want to be connected to as well. I think I mean, Dave may end up, as my understanding is, Dave, you may end up as part of that working group.
Well, they've asked me and I consented, but I want to, are the park owners aware of this?
No, not at all.
Okay,
First we've heard of anything.
I'm gonna send you the email. I didn't, I'll send you the email and you can contact them yourself. I don't know why they wouldn't try to contact you guys.
All right. Thank you for that, Dave. And CHFA, do you have anything else for us?
I'll hand it over to Colette for the multifamily update.
Yep, no activity on the park purchase program.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving along.
I'm sorry, Liz, before we leave. I don't mean to keep doing this, but I can't
No,
help it.
I'm trying to move the meeting along a little. So
Okay, now I just want to check, it's one, I believe that under the park purchase statute, CHFA is one of the entities that gets notice of the intention to sell a park. Is CHFA sort of set up so that will get processed in a way? I mean, like, is there a place?
So it's DOH, DCP, and CHFA, and yes, we do. We would have we have a process in place. It would come to me. So we haven't had any notice, no activity.
So that's the process.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
All right. So we're going to go back to number 5, which is our DCP legal update. Should I go back to you, Paulette? Are you still with us?
I'm still here. So the update that I gave you was on the 2 cases, and that's what I was commissioned to do today. But I would like to introduce our 2 new attorneys and have them just say hello. So recently since the end of November and just last week, we brought on James Rocco, who has sworn in you, Rafi, and Annalisa Villard-Howe. So I just want them to just say hello. And I don't know yet what work they'll be doing, but it's going to be involving some real estate and some mobile home park, I think. So please, James, going to go first, and then Annalisa.
Sure. Hi, everyone. James Rocco, new staff attorney for DCP. Just very briefly, I spent the last 9 years at the state legislature, 7 with the Senate and 2 with the House. And before that, I was clerking with the judicial branch. So I'm happy to be over at the executive branch representing the agency, and I look forward to working with you.
Welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And good morning. Again, my name is Annalisa. I'm the one with all the hyphens and a name that usually shows up oddly on these things. I'm coming here after quite a few years active duty in the federal sector. So law is new to me. I'm shifting over from driving ships to driving law. So we'll see how this transition goes.
Congratulations and welcome to you as well.
And that was it for legal. And if you don't need us for anything, we're just going to check out.
I'm good. Yeah, and you're going to get back to us on some of those things we talked about earlier, and we'll go from there. Thank you for being here, everyone.
All right. Good to see everybody. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so moving on to item 7, old business / main discussion item. So at Bennett's last meeting, he had sort of an informal meeting and said, hey, folks, we need to come together with some common ground things that this council can work on, but can really work on. And I put together a little working group. If you're not on the working group and you want to be on the working group, hey, no one's going to turn you down. But we talked about, when Bennett had this informal meeting, we talked about a few things that the council can do to promote mobile homes and mobile home parks. And I'm going to give it a little update, and then I'll let some of the other folks sort of cut in after that. So the first one was a visit to a mobile home park, and I'm working on putting that together for our elected officials, and the DCP commissioner also would like to attend. In Montville, we have Sun Communities has a 3 mobile home parks right next to each other. So there's one that's been built for an older one with the more trailer-like mobile manufactured homes. We have another one that are sort of upscale, Hillcrest, which is sort of a more, it's a little pricier mobile home park, but it's completely full. It's been occupied for I think they're on, I'm not positive. I think they're almost done building that one out. And then Sun also has across the street Millwood, which is another mobile manufactured home park with maybe a little bit smaller homes than Hillcrest. So, and they're still under construction. They also still have empty units. So we thought that was a good idea. I'm working on putting something together with Sun Communities for spring of 2024. I will give everyone an update just so people see what, a mobile home park of 2023 looks like. And, to get support from up at the Capitol. The other one that we discussed during this working group was House on the Hill. And we discussed doing this during the 2025 legislative session. Mark, I'll let you speak next about, how we had planned to get that done. We wanted to have the most exposure to the lawmakers. But it takes a little bit to get a mobile home up there. So this year, it's a short session, and it was a little bit of a challenge to even possibly get that to hoping to do that 2025. One other thing about public education and promotion, I plan on working, I talked about partnering with the regional planning agencies, the Connecticut chapter of the American Planning Association, and the CASIO, which is the Connecticut Association of Zoning Enforcement Officers, to sort of educate, planners and zoning officials and about mobile home parks and what they look like and what type of, what they bring to a community. And make sure that everyone is complying with, zoning statutes requiring, allowing a 22-foot wide mobile manufactured homes on individual lots, which I think a lot of people are under the impression that that can't happen. So a little bit of education. I actually am in touch with the Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments. And I hope to sort of bring it to the land use professionals in that way, not just at Southeast Connecticut, but the other COGs in the state. So those are some of the things we talked about during sort of a working group. And we really, really want to go forward. We want to follow through with these projects. So, the hope is to have sort of more little working groups, to talk about these things. Mark, would you be so kind as to talk about the process, just sort of briefly summarize how we actually get a mobile manufactured home up to the Capitol?
You bring it on a truck.
I'm sorry. Can I just hop in for 1 second? Jennifer, are you trying to share your screen?
I am. I can stop.
Okay. No, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that we're sharing. So.
Okay.
If everyone wants to.
And is that what you wanted to share, Jennifer? Because I'm just kidding.
No, I just thought it would be helpful for everyone to share the agenda, but I can stop sharing. It doesn't matter.
Sharing a screen is probably the scariest thing I could ever have encountered. It's like I need a separate computer just to share my screen that only has one thing on it.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware. That's all.
I was.
Okay.
I made the change. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
So I think, there's probably some pieces that I don't know in terms of the security. So that's something obviously we'll need to look at, Liz, like how do you actually get to the person that allows you to bring trucks and construction crews to the Capitol, and that I didn't even think about that until you asked me to talk. But bringing a home here and getting it set up is done all the time. Matter of fact, that there's in Louisville, there's a big show coming in January, which I attend every year, which is basically that there's 47 manufacturers or 47 homes or something are being brought inside of a convention center and literally just set up with skirting and steps and electricity. And it's really not a big deal to get it here. They will bring it in. It is, brought in on a truck and set up. And then the only difference is they probably don't take the axles and tires off. They just skirt it and run a generator for electricity. And what I could do actually, and I should have already done this and I apologize, but I'm going to send you guys a link that has a video of the ones that were done recently. And they're doing it because I'm also on the state director's call every month. We have a call with every single person that's in my position in all 50 states, along with the MHI. And they're doing it all over the place, Liz. There's probably 5 or 6 states that are bringing a home on the hill or in the process of setting it up for 2024 already. And we'll just find a manufacturer that wants to, kind of be a part of this thing. Maybe you could get 2, Eagle River and Titan or Champion Homes. They do it all the time. And I think I said on the group, the only downside is somebody has to buy the home because they don't want to take it back. They want to bring it to a community, but we'll reach out, we'll start the process of seeing who needs a home. Double wides are a little bit harder to bring in, but they do it. I think we can probably get across with a single wide what they look like today. And I just think people will be amazed. I think the legislators would be very surprised to see the quality of a home today, with the luxury enhancements that they have with the granite countertops, and they're amazing today. I think people just don't get it, how great they are. Liz, because you're seeing it firsthand in Montville. But getting the home is probably the easiest part of it. Probably getting enough marketing or advertising to get legislators and stuff there. Maybe Rafi can help. I don't know who can do that, but we'll talk to our lobbyist Andy, and how do we get the word out to make sure that we get enough people. You're going to want the news crews there. That's how we got some of the video that I'll send you guys the link to, is we want to get the news there to because I'm sure the legislators would love to talk on TV about their getting behind our the manufactured housing. So I think that part will be easy. So I think we're going to have to probably pick 5 or 6, 7 things that need to be done, and then figure out how to assign that work, and go from there. But I don't think getting the home itself really is probably the easiest part of it.
Yeah. So yeah, but that being said, there is logistics involved that wouldn't allow us to do this in 2024. But I think right now we now have a whole year to plan for next year, and I want to continue having some working groups that could put this house on the hill, bring it to fruition. So folks will be hearing from me.
Yeah, I think part of it, Liz, that we talked about in our group is that it's not just the home. The reason we wanted to kick the can down the road a little bit is because we thought we needed to do a little legwork in advance, right? Getting people to start talking about it more, talking about the zoning reform, which I think you have on your list, or Rafi's going to talk about today, which is awesome because Rafi's good at that. And so, that I think we wanted to kind of build the groundwork up to it, and then kind of like, pièce de résistance that, hey, we got everybody now thinking about it, and this is what it's all about. But I think we need to do a little legwork first.
And I think one of the purposes of bringing this to the council's attention now is it was, from what I understand from Bennett, it was on the agenda for a couple of years and it kind of didn't go anywhere, and we just want it to go somewhere, and we're putting a date on it, right? Save the date, 2025. So I just want to let everyone know that there is a working group that's going to work on getting this done. So that's all that I have. Anybody else have anything to ask about those 3 sort of public education and promotion things? If not, I'm going to move on to the next bullet, which is a 2023 legislative update affecting mobile manufactured home parks, including zoning reform. Rafi's going to give a quick update, and he also, do I have it? He also sent out a summary, which you can read in meeting materials link. It was posted there. Unfortunately, it was just posted there yesterday, so you may have to go back and take another look. But the material is there, and it's a summary that Rafi sent to me. And Rafi, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you.
Okay, thanks. The reason it was the summary, what excuse me, Liz had asked me to write up a summary. The reason it wasn't posted until recently is that, of course, I didn't write it until yesterday. So I'm sorry. I apologize for being late on that. Others may be aware of pieces of legislation that impact mobile home parks that I'm not aware of. What I put into that summary were the two statutes that explicitly talked about mobile home parks, one being the park purchase statute, which is Public Act 23-125, which I think everybody knows about, and the other is the one we talked about today, which was the study through the banking committee of obstacles to people being able to buy mobile. I also pulled some pieces out of the Public Act 23-207, which was a general landlord-tenant act. It was not focused on mobile home parks, but there's things that you probably ought to be aware of. The two that I think are immediately most significant are the requirement that landlord, which includes park owners in this context, provide an annual notice to park residents of their rights under what's called the Just Cause Eviction Statute, which applies to elderly and disabled. And because the owners, landlords, and park owners are not necessarily aware of who's elderly or who's disabled, the requirement basically says it's a notice to everybody. But the notice, the Department of Housing has posted a form notice that was required by the statute that they do. So the park owner just has to download that and circulate it.
So Rafi, that's already posted, because I think we looked right at the end of November or something. We didn't see it because it was supposed to be for December.
You were one day too early. They posted it on December 1st, which was the day the statute required. The effectiveness of it is January 1st. So I think starting January 1st, you're supposed to do that. And that it's really interesting because that statute is sort of structured as an eviction statute, but it actually is also addresses the issue of rent increases that are not fair and equitable. I mean, anyway, so the statute's been around and applicable to mobile home parks since 1980. So it's nothing new. It's just a notice that's new. It does exempt mobile home parks with fewer than 5 units. So it does not apply to the really small mobile home parks. There's another section of that bill reduced the time to return a security deposit from 30 days to 21 days. And that's actually important from a park owner perspective, because if you don't comply with that statute, the security deposit doubles. That's the statutory penalty for not complying with the Security Deposit Act. So you really want to comply with it. And
those we sent out to everybody for sure. Like we were big on our membership. Nancy did a great job sending that out to all of our guys. Marcia, you had a question for Rafi?
I do have a question, Rafe. You said that this notice is available online. Can you send us a link to it? And
sure. I can get that to I can get it to Liz and she can send it out.
It's on the DOH, you said?
It's on the DOH website. And if you go to the website, I think it's right on the entry page. It says something like forms required by Public Act 23-207. There are two forms they've posted. One is really a voluntary form, which is for doing a pre-occupancy inspection, and that's pretty clearly meant for apartments. It's like a checklist that people could use to do a walkthrough. But the other one is the 47A 23C form, and that one I think, and that's something you are required to circulate to your residents. So that it's important.
Is it required by January 1st? Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, by January 1st.
So we need to mail this to all our tenants by January 1st.
Yeah, I think I'd have to look back at the wording. It's a little unclear. I think you have to do it to new occupants as of January 1st, and I think you can do it at renewal times. And as I don't think, I'd have to relook at the wording as to whether on January 1st you have to send it to everybody, or whether you're first sending it would be at the next renewal. And then it's annual after that. At each of the renewals, you're supposed to send it out again. So you should read it with some care to, but I can send you the link. And then
Are you sending that across the board, Rafe? Can you send that
Sorry?
to, are you sending that to everyone or just to Marcia? Can you include me on that? too?
I was going to send it to Liz, and Liz can circulate it to
Okay,
everyone.
perfect. Thank you.
Let me just make a note to myself on that. And then there's several other provisions in there that are really directed. I mean, I think they're meant for apartments, but they may well be applicable to parks as well. It's one is there's a limit on late fees. There's a limit on tenant screening fees, and there's basically a prohibition of other application fees. So that's part of that act. And again, I'm sure the legislative focus was on apartments for those, but I think they may well apply in mobile home parks leasing also.
Sure do. Yeah, and we've sent that out to everybody as well.
Okay, so those are the things I'm aware of. I don't know if there was anything in the bonding package that would be of interest to us, or if there's CHFA or DOH legislation that's of interest to us. I'm just not sure. So in terms of, so half of what I was asked to do was the report on what happened in 2023. So I don't know if anybody has any information to add to that or any questions. The other half is the zoning piece, and that really is future directed, because historically there have been two aspects of zoning that this council has looked at and never really successfully addressed. And so this might be for something to think about if we wanted to, including in the 2024 session. One is the anti-discrimination statute, which prohibits discrimination against mobile home parks, but it is limited to parks with double wides. And at the time when they adopted this, which was 30 some years ago, they actually considered the width being defined as anything over 15 feet. And in the end, I think probably to get it through politically, they changed the 15 to 22 feet. But that statute is there, and essentially it means towns are supposed to be treating mobile home parks the way they would treat subdivisions. And so that's there. And the second half of that is the council at one point wrote a lengthy letter to the Attorney General. And I think maybe Dick Blumenthal was Attorney General at the time, saying they had looked at some of the zoning laws of towns, and there were half a dozen towns that had absolute prohibitions on mobile home parks under any circumstances. It wasn't even that they were using different standards to approve parks. They wouldn't approve any, and that seemed patently contrary to the statute, and that the request at the time was that the AG should intervene and should take action against those towns. I mean, in some ways, the issue is more sophisticated than that, because you can discriminate against mobile home parks without having to totally ban them. I mean, you can impose requirements on mobile home parks that you don't otherwise require. You can use hearing processes that are different. You can treat them as non-conforming uses when you don't treat other things as non-conforming uses. And so that we might want to look at that, and one vehicle would be to go to the Attorney General and ask them to enforce that part of the anti-discrimination statute, which is part of 8-2, which is the Zoning Enabling Act. So I just put that out there as something we might want to think about. I mean, right now, the principal way of attacking zoning has been 8-30G, which is it's a challenging way to do it, because it inherently involves litigation, which be both expensive and time consuming. It would be a lot better if the zoning laws were adjusted so that you didn't have to use litigation in order to be opening new parks.
And that was, just FYI, that was, one thing that I thought as a land use professional to reach out to other land use professionals, sort of give them a, hey, did you know? Because maybe they don't, maybe they're, maybe the town doesn't have an attorney that sends them, updates on statutes. But that was one of the reasons, talking about educating land use professionals, and perhaps they can, and I would say start in Montville too, is, look at regulations that it would make it easier for mobile manufactured home parks. Maybe on less, instead of maybe on 20 acres, maybe you have it on, a smaller piece with smaller number of units.
The problem, go ahead, Liz, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So the problem is, Rafi did a great job explaining, what we're trying to accomplish. I think, so from someone like myself as a community owner, the problem is you need the density to make it worthwhile for somebody to want to do it. So everything Rafi's saying is true, and we should definitely do whatever we can to stop any kind of discrimination against anybody. But the problem is that unless you can get density, it does. If you're treating it like a regular development, like Rafi I think had said, it doesn't work for us because you can't get enough units to make it worthwhile for me to put it. So you know what I mean? So you need, honestly, you need 50 minimum to make it worthwhile for someone like me to probably want to do it, because it's so expensive to develop anything today, and the homes are so much more expensive than they were just before the pandemic. So I have no problem. I think what we ought to talk about is making sure that, hey, somebody who wants a manufactured home, like they do in some of the northern states, if they want to put a home on a piece of property, that should be easy, right? So if you wanted to buy a parcel and somebody wanted to put a single or double wide home, there should be no discrimination. There should be no issue with any town ever disallowing somebody putting a mobile manufactured home on a parcel. What we need to figure out is not having to go through the 830G process to get the density that someone like us would need to build more communities in the state. Am I saying it right, Rafi? Is that, yeah. Okay.
And that could come in the form of, as I said, regulations, towns putting in regulations that, don't limit, that don't have density requirements, perhaps, as in lieu of an 830G application where the zoning regulations basically go out the window. There's got to be an easier way to do it, because 830G applications tend to be controversial for unnecessary reasons, and they turn out to be very expensive, and there's a lot of appeals, and they're long and drawn out. So I agree that it would be nice to come up with, something that makes it easier for a developer to do that. So that's what we have for legislative update. The other thing we have as a bullet is an example letter, intent to sell mobile home park. And actually, Mark, you sent me one that is a letter from Massachusetts, and perhaps you could do just a very quick. It's also in your meeting materials, so if you want to take a look at it, it's there, and it's an example letter that Mark put together that would maybe make it easier for some mobile manufactured home park owners that don't know what to do or don't know what to say. Correct, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, and Rafi and I went back and forth a couple times. Rafi, do you get my response? I did write the cover letter, but the rest of it all came from the state of Massachusetts, which, the other 4 or 5 pages came from the state. I only wrote the letter to just give my intention. And then the letter and the letter had to go to the same thing, the DHCD, they call it in Massachusetts, Department of Community Housing Development, the Attorney General's office, and I think one other company. They get a certified letter. And then, but I was just, that was all the cover letter, but everything that you saw beyond that was from the state of Massachusetts. I mean, to me, it's very lengthy and confusing for someone to even read that far in advance. So I'm happy to take a stab at it. But you would think that the state would kind of already have drafted something, or would draft something to give me an outline to start with. But so for those of you guys who didn't see the letter, basically it was just, hey, this is the statute, this is the statute number, and it's our intention is to sell the community, and then it outlines the residents' rights to exercise their right. And then, but it's like 4 or 5 pages because that's what the state gave us. And all my cover letter was just explaining them that our intention was to sell, and that, you know, that they still have to, that their lease and everything is still intact, and they still have to follow everything that, no matter what we're trying to do, they still have to follow all the rules and regulations and pay their lot rent and all that stuff. And then the rest of it was just, you know, state mumbo jumbo that they wanted us to put in.
Yeah,
So
I'm sorry, I don't think I saw it. I don't think I realized there was a separate attachment, so I don't think I've looked at that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so there's 5, I think 5 pages, I think, is in there, my cover letter, and then everything behind. Look at what you see behind it. I think someone like you will be very happy with the amount of detail that was given, because there's really no interpretation. It literally outlines every single thing that happens, and it's not bad. It's just lengthy. So why don't you take a look at that first, and then let me know if you feel the same way.
Well, and you know, my hope was that something could be available. I mean, so now that I understand that it was Mark's cover letter I was looking at, Mark's cover letter was plain language, and so that's obviously would be very helpful to somebody understanding what this piece of paper is about. It seems to me that what I thought might be helpful to everyone was essentially a plain language form. It might have an attachment with all the details. I mean, if you're going to attach the contract or something, but the form itself will be such that a park owner, by filling out the form, could use that form in a sense as their cover letter, or sort of, and that would be a standardized form. Because that's where I thought that Mark was looking to say, let's make this as easy as possible for someone to give the notice, and that could be like the top piece of whatever it was going out to the residents. And that, but I think the reality is nobody's going to write that unless we write it. And that's the kind of thing that I think that it's in the interest of both the park owners and the park residents, that it be readable and understandable, and it be legally correct. And so to me, that might be a joint project that we could do between now and like our next meeting, our next, see if we can't come up with something that we like. And ultimately would have to be promulgated by a state agency, probably DCP. But if we did all the work for them, one would hope that, I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't post something without deciding they like it, but that would certainly increase the chances that we would get a form that way.
Okay, I mean, I'll do what I can. I don't know that I'm the cerebral guy that you're looking for, but I'll do I could take a look at it.
I have a park that's being sold right now that's going through the process using Colin McComb for as their attorney, and it's really burdensome. I will just tell you right now, it's added, you know, serious money and serious legal time, just kind of navigating, getting this out. And I'm sure we're probably the first, maybe we're the first in the state to do it. But, you know, right now it's not fun, and we'll see what happens. And it's a small property, so. And I've got one backing up right after that. That's going to go to contract.
So have you started the notice process yet?
The attorney's, he's still working on it right now.
Right. No, the reason I asked was because
it hasn't been sent out.
Yeah, I mean, Colette said they hadn't gotten any notices. That's the reason I was asking.
Well, I'll ask him. I mean, he's preparing them.
Miriam, if he wants to call me and talk to me about it too, just I can help him.
Do you work with Colin? You know Colin.
Yeah, we just had him at the thing too. But I would love to see what he's doing.
Yeah, it'd be great.
So you're protected too. Just
Can you tell us what park this is?
It's in Middletown. It's a small park in Middletown.
Okay, can you tell us which one or?
Coleman Mobile Home Park.
Okay, thanks.
They have more than 15.
They do?
Yeah. And yeah. And do we know if the law states that if the number of lots, or is it based on the number of occupied lots?
We'd have to look back at the statute, I think. I think it's the number of lots, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
You know, Mark, it's as much as that bill was negotiated. When you can always go back and look at these things and say, "Huh, we never thought about that," or, this seemed clear at the time when we wrote it, but now that we look at it after the fact, it seems less clear than it was than we
Yeah,
thought.
the only reason I ask, because specifically for Miriam's park, and obviously since she's already disclosed which park it is, it's not a park that the residents are going to exercise their right. It's got a lot of trouble,
Not a chance in hell.
Yep, and so
I know them.
yeah. This
Okay.
this isn't a really good example of the potential for residents to buy it. That's why I'm being upfront with you. But I was just asking because I didn't know actually how many lots were occupied, because the guy hasn't really done anything with the community in a long time. And so,
Correct.
I don't have any. There isn't a lot in Connecticut, Rafi, but in other places where I operate, I have like a park that's in Ohio that's 300 sites, but only 220 of them are actually occupied. So they don't have a law out there, but that's what just prompted me to ask the question, because Miriam's Park has really got some, as we say, here's on the deal.
Yeah.
There are some, just FYI, there are some partnerships that are going on in places. I've seen pictures, some in articles, where some levels of either state or local government are participating in infrastructure improvements when co-ops are organized to buy the park. And I can send you a couple articles about it. You're probably familiar with them already, but I don't know. It sounds
How
like
about if they don't? How about if they don't do a cooperative, but someone like me still owns it?
You know what? We've mentioned that.
Yeah.
I could get behind that, Mark, if you think it's something that we can work together on, because there was a lot of money being thrown around from that COVID stuff, and it's possible. I'll send you an article. I'll send you a couple articles. I spent supposed to just for.
Yeah, I would say it's one of the biggest things that we all face is the aging infrastructure is a big.
Well, it's been done in Colorado. No, that was a co-op, but I just got an article yesterday from Canada seems to be getting ahead of this in places. So I'll send you a couple articles I've got.
Mark,
I would certainly be open to that idea.
Mark, this also suggests something else that we ought to do. As far as I know, any state program that would fund multifamily housing, I think would be open under existing processes, would be open to mobile home parks. So for example, if someone was doing what amounts to a substantial rehab, and let's say CHFA or DOH has a program in which they will do some kind of subsidized funding, I don't see why a park owner wouldn't be eligible if they met if you met whatever were the requirements for the program.
Sure.
If that's, it seems to me it would be worth our asking CHFA and DOH to identify for us what kinds of, especially sort of capital improvement programs, land-based improvements or sewage systems or whatever it is.
That septic system is really the one thing that comes to mind. I mean, that's our biggest Achilles heel.
Well, so the question is, do we have these programs that exist for stick-built housing? And if so, is there any reason to believe that mobile home parks are not eligible for the programs? Because then they're existing programs. And if they aren't eligible, then that leads to the question, well, what about changing your rules so that they will be eligible? And and sort of bouncing that over to CHFA and asking them to both identify and review, to me, that would make sense. I guess I just don't see any downside to that at all.
Yep, no, for sure.
And I don't want to cut you guys off, but we're going on about an hour and a half now. So I think that's a great idea, and it's maybe something we could have, as a subject of the working group, to get some of that information for the next meeting. If that's okay with everyone, I will put that on my list and move on to new business. Is that good? Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
new business is our 2024 meeting schedule. As you know, we meet quarterly. The meeting schedule is 2/27/24, 5/28/24, 8/27/24, and 12/3/24. I don't know if I need a motion, but it can't hurt. So would somebody like to make a motion to accept that meeting schedule?
First one is in February.
February 27th is the first one.
They're all
I'll
Wednesdays.
make the motion, it's fine.
Liz, are those all 10:30 a.m. on Wednesdays or?
Let me look real
Yes,
quick.
they-
Yes, I think they are. Yep.
They are, yes.
Okay, well, I'll move it. So moved.
I'll second. I'll second.
Okay, and who seconded?
Ben. Ben.
Okay. All right. Everybody in favor?
Marcia has a question first.
Oh,
Um,
discussion?
February 7th in 2024, I believe is a Tuesday.
Hold on. Let me look real quick. I'm looking myself.
It is.
And
Oh.
Tuesday, and then 5/28 is also, so they're Tuesdays now. 8/27 is also a Tuesday. Does anyone have a problem with Tuesdays?
well, I just wondered why they all changed from Wednesdays to
I don't know. Rochelle, are you on the line with us? Because I didn't actually pick those dates. The only one that I had suggested be changed was the original schedule sent to me was during the Thanksgiving week. So I asked her to push it off to the 3rd of December. Rochelle, are you here and can you tell us how those dates are picked by your office?
Yes, I'm here. Give me 1 second. They might have been.
Rochelle is our contact up at DCP that assists with the minutes and posting the items. She's the one that makes all this happen. But yes, they're all on a Tuesday. I don't know why that is, but those were the dates I was given. I'll tell you what.
Okay. I was just verifying. I'm not sure where I got Tuesdays instead of Wednesdays from, but I mean, quickly running through, it looks like I could change it back to Wednesdays. I don't see anything scheduled. Some of the days changed for other boards because there was other board meetings already scheduled. But I don't see that happened with yours, so I think I just had Tuesday instead of Wednesday in my head when I was going through and creating the schedules for everything. So if it's a problem, we can likely change it to Wednesdays.
Right,
We just push forward.
Do
I would
people
just have
want
to
it
double
be on
check if there's
Wednesday
any.
versus Tuesday?
I mean, if people would, I'm happy to accept that as a friendly amendment if people would prefer to stick with Wednesdays.
All right, let's do Wednesdays just to, have some familiarity. So Rochelle, can you can change that to Wednesday, so that would be 2/28, 5/29, 8/28, and 12/4.
Yeah, I believe that should be fine. I don't think there's anything else scheduled for those days, so it should be easy to switch over. So
all right,
if for some reason that doesn't work, I will let you guys know, but I will say with 90% confidence at this moment that I can change it all to the Wednesdays.
All right, so the motion and second have been amended to as friendly amendments for Wednesdays. Is everybody in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, then that bullet has been that's been passed, and the next bullet is a quick discussion of a lender's representative. So we have banking industry representative. We have an opening, and I don't know if anyone knows of anyone. They would suggest to be our banking industry representative. We also have 2 openings for mobile home park tenant or representative of tenant. So I just wanted to let people know that we have those openings, and if you can, you have anyone in mind that you think might be interested, please let me know. Rafi?
I guess I'm going to address this to the park owners. I'm assuming you know which banks are doing lending to individual for the purchase of individual homes. In the past, for a long time, we had somebody, I don't even remember who it was, and probably we haven't had anybody for, I don't know, 10 years, but George. George
Cody. It was George Cody.
So if you know of a bank that is doing lending to parks for mobile home park purchases, and you can identify somebody who might be very helpful to have on the advisory council, and my suggestion is you be the sort of the primary source in finding such a person, recruiting somebody. So I guess I would just encourage you to do that, so we get a. But one of I very much like the CHFA programs, but one of the problems is they chose to do them through an in-house contracted out process rather than through general banks. And the result is it doesn't sort of have this collateral effect of encouraging the private banking industry to be more open to mobile home lending. So getting somebody from that industry on this council, I think, could be helpful.
Ben, do you have a question?
Yeah, maybe. George Cody was a mortgage company that he had. So actually, he was an independent mortgage individual. He wasn't with any specific lender.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say. So I don't know any banks.
That's right.
Because the risk was so high that local banks got out of lending. So today we all use a mortgage company. So there's First Credit, Priority. I don't know, Marcia, if you have another one, or Miriam, she stepped out, but we all use the same kind of 2 guys, First Credit and Priority.
You do.
Yep, are the 2 main Connecticut. They're not in Connecticut. They're actually, one's New York. I don't know where Priority's out of, but they do a great job. And you know what? We have no trouble getting people approved through them for purchases of house. Very few people ever get denied, and probably because when we're selling a new house, you're probably talking about a different kind of customer. But there's no local banks, Rafi, that are lending anymore. They're all mortgage companies. So if the regs can be switched, so a mortgage company could be on the board as opposed to a local bank, we can surely talk to those guys about being on. And they would be a great resource. They would be a great resource. But
what are the names of the 2 lenders?
Yeah, First Credit Corporation, and I think they're out of New York, right, Nancy? He's Rich D'Elia, he's out of New York.
Yes. Yep.
And then and Priority Funding. Is he out of Rhode Island, Miriam?
Massachusetts, I think.
Massachusetts?
Yeah, Massachusetts, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And you have Sterling too, out of Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah, and Sterling Associates, which I think is out of New Hampshire.
I've never used them, but.
Yeah, they just came, but they do a really good job, and they're very familiar. They do a lot of stuff in Mass and New Hampshire, and I know they would do Connecticut, and we've actually used them in Connecticut years ago. Sterling Associates, and I know every one of those guys personally. I'm happy to reach them, but you have to say to me that they're okay if they're not a bank.
Well,
Is it just new homes? Or is this also resale today?
No, they do resale too. I only brought up new homes because generally,
yeah,
you're looking for funding. That's what we're doing. People who are buying used homes seem to be buying in cash right now. They're downsizing, and they're able to come up with the 50, 60, 70,000 in cash. And I know that sounds like it is a lot of money, but they're able to buy in cash. I have very few used home transactions that I bring in a lender for.
I'm looking at the statute. The statute says 1 representative of the, quote, banking industry. But apparently that's been historically interpreted, that phrase banking industry, to include second mortgage, include mortgage companies, because that's, as was pointed out, that's who used to be on the console. So apparently that was treated functionally as being the equivalent. So my guess is that it could go either way. I mean, I don't know, but to change, to explicitly expand it, we would have to change the statute. They can't do it by regulation, but I mean, maybe there's a substantive question that we should ask ourselves, is whether it actually would be in our interest to get somebody who actually represents a bank, or whether it's more practical that we want to just get someone from, who's doing mortgage lending.
Right. Well, not just mortgage lending for our industry. Banks aren't doing it.
Correct.
Although you'd be able to get information from them, it won't be industry specific. So my feeling is you'd want to have somebody who can talk about the kind of people who are applying for our product, what the denial rate, kind of like the questions that we asked, CHFA, what are they getting for a take rate? Who's applying? What is the rate of approval? You're not going to get that from a bank because they're not doing any. So
when someone sells their own home in a park, so it's a used home, it's already in place in the park. Is that typically being purchased with financing, or is that those typically being purchased with cash?
Not in my case, no.
No.
Yeah, cash. The answer to your question is cash.
So that there's not a need for financing for purchasing used homes, or.
That's a good question. So, I mean, right now there isn't, and I don't know if it's just because of the downsizing rate or the people that had cash from the last couple of years where, more liquidity was going on. More people had, the deposits in the bank were higher. I'm not sure. But when you're talking about selling a home for $25,000, and we got, plenty of those, right, guys? I mean, you got homes that are selling for $49,000, $59,000, $69,000. They're not really requiring a lot of financing right now.
Okay, thanks.
I'm seeing used homes going for more than what Mark is saying.
Yeah.
Some of mine
They are.
definitely fine. So
Yeah, no, me too.
I do have a lot of people that have sold a home and they're a cash deal. It's a,
Yeah.
an older person and downsizing, but there is financing needed sometimes on the used homes.
All right, good. So we'll look into getting that interpretation, if it could be, a mortgage company versus a bank. And we'll get some of that information for the next meeting. So I want
to do it, and I'll do it.
Yeah, well, yeah, you guys start asking questions if anyone's interested. We'll find out about that first, though. And then the next bullet is discussion of formation of a legislative committee, and that's something we discussed in a working group, and certainly Rafi would be involved in that. I'd be happy to be involved in that as well, and to talk about legislative changes. So if anyone's interested in doing that, please reach out to me and let me know. I'll send out an email to everyone and just say, hey, we want to have a legislative committee, and hopefully it's not just Rafi and me.
I'm sure it won't be. I would expect to see Mark and David.
Right.
Come on, I can't be on another committee, guys. I am stretched thin. You have to remember, I operate in 4 states, so I'm on four. I'm on a lot of boards. I can't. And there's an educational committee already exists, right? You guys, there's already a group that exists.
Actually, there's a legislative, educational, and finance committee, and I have under committee reports none because I don't think they meet. We talked about this. Educational, they don't meet, so.
We don't meet.
Liz, it seems to me that working group that you would pull together for some discussion on collaborative issues is really, I mean, in my mind, it's what I would call a policy committee. And my guess is the people who came to that meeting or who might want to be added on to that grouping are the people who are going to be interested in legislation. They'll be interested in DCP regulation. They'll be interested in policy issues generally. So it may be that that's as distinct from a legislative committee. Maybe it should be more broadly a policy committee. And it just is, it'll be the same people. So you don't have to have the same people be on 2 or 3 different committees. Where something like education may draw a different group of people. I mean, like, you know, if we think of education as being educating planners, that may, you know, that's something that, you know, that you're particularly in a position to do it. And there may be a couple of people on the council who'd like to work on that. So you might want to think about whether that's a better way to organize.
I'm fine with that. The less meetings we have to have, you know, the better. It's easier to keep track of one working group policy meeting than it is to keep track of these 3 committees. So that's a good idea, and I will send out, you know, an email as soon as we're having a meeting in February, but at the end of the month, so maybe sometime mid-January. Let's get through the holidays and the new year and maybe talk about some of the things we talked about today to bring to the whole council on the 27th. And that being said, item 10 is correspondence, and I don't have anything. So item 11 is, since we're going on an hour and a half now, we have item 11 is adjournment. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn? Mark does. Motion by Mark, seconded by Mark.
This is 2 votes.
I think everybody was raising their hands anyway. But all right, everybody in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we're adjourned at 12:03, and I hope everyone has a really happy holiday, whatever you do.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank
Thank you, Liz.
Take care,
Thank
everybody.
you all.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice holiday. Bye.
Yeah.